back to Mortals and Portals, a Pathfinder real play podcast. I'm your host and GM Zach, and joining me at the table is
Adam, and I play Jules, an Azarketi bard.
I'm Joel, and I play Dex, a kobold rogue.
Not for long. I'm Ryan, and I play Tough, an automaton inventor.
Don't kill me, Ryan, and I play Taryn, a waltz champion.
No promises.
A waltz champion.
Ryan coming in here setting the vibe. That's right. There is definitely a dark tone over this episode because last time on Mortals and Portals, which feels like forever ago since we've recorded, so my memory might be a little shoddy here, but basically it seems like Elyara freed the hippogriffs. You guys had some time while you were waiting for her to cross the lake to the Castle of Star Sea, but once she freed them, it was go time. And Jules went into the water to go find the underwater entrance to Caverna de Luz, and he thought he was going in there to make a distraction in the castle with a bomb or something that Tuff made, and then let you guys in so you could all storm into the Caverna de Luz together, which was, of course, what Tuff and Jules called a boom and zoom, some kind of trick they've ran a bunch in their past together, kind of like the song and swipe and things like that. And once he went underwater, Waltz, Dax, and Tuff got into a little boat and started rowing their way across, and Waltz started having flashes of that vision again of Lorthal blowing up, being put back together, blowing up, being put back together. He could tell that he was getting very close to whatever situation was tampering with the potential fate of Lorthal. And then Jules underwater ran into some fish, and I had to voice a fish all of a sudden because he can talk to fish. I had no idea what a fish was going to sound like, but I guess they sounded dumb, and I decided that this fish was also just kind of dumb and annoying, and lives a very reclusive life. Does not recognize Erikai. Normally an Erikai might be revered by a fish that they would see, especially in Aquaria.
I don't know if you mean Azarketi.
Did I say Erikai? Hey,
Ryu's back.
Oh, spoiler,
Surprise.
Jules is actually also an Erikai and an Azarketi. Yeah.
What?
That's why I had to get Jules out.
I am the chosen one.
That's why I had to get Ryu out of the story. There's only room for one Erikai. Only one farting sword-wielding guy.
I have awakened.
Yeah. Anyway, so he was like asking this fish, where the cavern was, and he told them, but he made you promise, like he'll tell you where, but you have to come back and answer all of his questions, because think about it like, it's basically the equivalent of like you were just going about your day walking down the sidewalk and a dog just said, hey, and then you're like, what the heck? And then it just was like, hey, can you tell me how to get to this thing? And you'd be like, sure, but like I have a lot more questions for you. So that's basically what the fish was thinking when a person swimming underwater started talking to him. He's like, yeah, but you got to promise to come back. And Jules said he would. I think he also flipped off the fish. Jules has been flipping off a lot of things lately.
Did I flip off the fish?
We've had a lot of sassy Jules
You're
lately.
upset with them. Yeah, Jules is.
Yep.
I think the pressure of the situation is making Jules a lot sassier right now. He doesn't have time for that. But anyway, he found the cavern, swam to the top, and found himself in a little opening, got out of the water. The coast seems clear for now. And then he remembered that Tuff said once you get in the cavern, you can open this bag, because the bag was waterproof, and inside the bag was supposed to be whatever device you're going to use for this boom and zoom, whatever he crafted in the forest beforehand. And instead, you found a note and the Flora de Vida, and the note basically said, we're the boom, you're the zoom, and it had a bunch of heartfelt stuff about Horizon Sun and things like that. And when Jules
Dang you, Ryan!
saw this, he knows that this means that Tuff is on his countdown, like he can't live for long without this power source in his core. He is on borrowed time.
My buddy.
And it is his job to get this to the cavern. And whatever Tuff is doing on the surface is supposed to create an explosion or some sort of boom or any other kind of distraction that will draw people away from Jules, so he can hopefully get this back to the soils and save Ciudad de la Nubes and Lorthal in the process. Jump cut back to Tuff and Waltz and Dax in the boat. And Tuff is seeming very different, very focused, a little thrown off. Dax, who can't swim and is in this boat, looked a little uneasy, and Tuff started questioning him a bit. And then he kind of went on this monologue basically saying, hey, Waltz, you're a good guy, blah, 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 blah. What would you say if someone in this boat has worked with Gothram, Zig, Raoul, and has killed Dunadas? And then he dropped a big bag of, like, he dumped all of the bombs from his many shafted gun or whatever Ryan likes to call it, and then pointed his pistol at it, ready to blow up the boat. So this might be the boom for Jules' Zoom at Dax and Walt's expense. And that is where we ended our session. I can see Joel's heart beating through his chest right now. So we're going to leave you guys in suspense for a little bit and start with Jules.
What?
So Jules,
Okay.
determined with this Florida Vita, you started heading down one of the caverns, and it's occasionally illuminated by different fungi or flora or whatever that's just growing in here. It's very damp and moist just from the water. You are beneath sea level at this moment, I guess. Sea level in the sky, whatever, for this floating continent. So occasionally there's little creeks like running through the cavern, water from the surface making its way down. You can hear running water as you go, but there's really only one way to go so far. But as you walk for a time, you start to see an opening up ahead and can hear the sound of roaring water. What do you do?
Is this opening in front of me, is it lit? Is it dark?
Can you roll me a perception check?
I'm gonna feel like I'd be able to see light or not, Zach. But
No,
okay.
you can't. No, you can't. It's a new Pathfinder update. We're using the remastered. You can't see light without a perception check now.
25.
Yeah, you're creeping up ahead, and as you look into the cavern, you can see there appears to be some more of the same kind of light that you've seen from flowers, but also maybe some light making its way down from the surface a little bit, and then also you can see firelight and shadows being cast around the cavern, and also as you listen more closely, you can tell there's definitely like a large waterfall flowing through this room somewhere, and as you focus on that, you can even hear some chatter up ahead as well.
Ooh. I'd like to, if I need to make a stealth check, I will see, without really knowing for sure what the area I'm entering looks like.
Okay.
I kind of want to enter stealthily and try to get to a place where I can understand what the chatter is, if it's in a language I can understand.
Can you roll me a stealth check and text it to me?
I will do that. Zach, I just texted you.
So you do have my number. Huh. Interesting. Anyways, Jules, you creep ahead down this tunnel as you approach the opening. You're crouched, trying to stay low. You feel like the sound of the waterfall makes your attempts to be quiet a little more forgiving as you're stepping on wet stone and sliding occasionally, but doing your best to be quiet. And as you creep ahead, you see a stalagmite just beyond the opening of the tunnel and realize that you can keep your head low and make your way towards it as cover, and you do so, and peek your eye through a gap in these stalagmites. And what you see is you're in a large open cavern, but it's not massive by any means. You can tell it's just a brief pause in these tunnels, and to continue down the tunnels, you just make your way across the cavern. But between you and there appears to be two kitsune, one with red fur and one with brown, sitting there, perhaps playing a card game, drinking, sitting on stalagmites themselves, playing cards on a flat rock in the cavern. They have shard rifles, but they're leaned up against the stalagmites. But also sitting there playing cards with them is a very large gnoll, and as you stare at this gnoll, you see it has that flicker of green in its eyes, looks very pale. In the cuts and nicks in its fur, you can see that skin beneath is purple and looks different than a typical gnoll, and you can tell that this one is undead, but sitting there also playing cards with these kitsune. And as you look beyond them, you can see that to continue down the tunnel, you would go up, looks more like makeshift stairs of stone as it raises up onto a platform with a small 5-foot wide opening into the tunnels beyond. But standing directly in front of that opening is another kitsune, this one with gray fur, sort of pacing back and forth with a shard rifle in hand and a sword at his side. This one looks very weathered, like this one has seen its fair share of combat, has a scar over its eye, looks older of the other kitsune. but next to them is this waterfall. There's a big hole in the opening of the cavern and also a pit below as the waterfall is just freely falling through this room. Like you can tell there is a cavern above or just a tunnel, and then also below. You don't really know how long this would go on for, but again, you're beneath the water, so it just seems to be trickling down and through. But it's directly to the right of this kitsune who is facing the room that you are in.
Okay. So you said that there's, just so I have it straight, there's 2 kitsune leaned up against some stalagmites playing cards with a null undead, and then across the way is a staircase with another kitsune kind of guarding the staircase.
Yeah, so it's like you, room, in the room, guys playing cards, and then like kind of like stairs, and then at the top of the stairs, another kitsune overlooking it, but the continue down the tunnel, you'd have to get up there. And then right next to him is like the waterfall just kind of flowing through.
Okay. I want to summon my unseen servant.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh, great.
I'll take my ocarina out and play just a quiet little, quick little melody that summons him.
All right, so you softly play this tune, doing your best not to pierce through the sound of the waterfall, and you hear a little swirl, and you hear, "What?"
Listen, I know every time I summon you, we have an exchange where you complain that I don't give you any notice.
What is this place?
I don't really.
Oh, it's so dark and just moist, and it smells damp in here.
That's my point. Shh. Just give me a second, okay? Look,
What?
I promise the next time I summon you will be a time when you and I can discuss our arrangement better.
What do you mean? How would that even work?
Right
You have
now,
to summon me to talk to me.
help me.
How would you... What do you mean?
I know, but then it will be I don't know. Anyways, just listen to me. We're in a cave. I need your help.
Oh, thanks,
Look over
Captain
there.
Obvious.
If I could smack you, I would.
Yeah, go ahead. Try, big boy.
Those guns over there, you see them leaned up against the rock?
Oh, yeah, they're playing cards. Let's go.
Yeah, okay, just go over there and cause a distraction. Grab the guns and throw them.
No, let's play
throw
cards with
their
them. You never
cards.
summoned me for anything fun.
Go over there. Yeah, mess with the cards if you want. I don't care. Just make it noticeable. Okay? Can you do this for me, please?
Jeez, I don't know. Looks like they're having a lot of... You just want me to ruin their game? Nobody ever likes me because of you.
You look really good today, by the way.
You can't even see me.
Did you do something
Shut
different
up.
with
You
your
can't
hair?
even see me.
I can see. I can see you. It's
Wait, can you
no one
really?
else can see you. I can see you.
You can tell like he honestly didn't know that. Oh crap!
You didn't know
he
that
starts
this
like
whole
combing
time.
his hair. He like tucks
I'm
in
just
his
looking
shirt. I
straight
did
in
not
your
know you could
eyes,
see
and
me.
you didn't think I could see you.
No, I just thought you could hear me, and you were just looking where I was.
Okay, listen.
And Jules is
Changes
kind of
so
looking
much.
past the stalagmites again.
Listen. We're on a bit of a time crunch. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
do this for me?
Yeah, I mean, I was enjoying my evening, so yeah, I guess the sooner I get this over with, the better.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you so much.
He starts kind of trudging, and you can tell he's like trying to straighten his clothes and look a little bit better. I feel like he has a little tie. He fixes his tie, and he starts walking.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
Is he like on a date?
Yeah, maybe he was. Yeah, what's on a date? Can you roll me another perception check?
Yeah.
He's got a tie on.
That is... You think by now I'd know what my perception is, just naturally. 24.
So as he's walking, he has like a ways to go. You're trying to wait till he does whatever it is you're sending him to do. And you're trying to listen in on these kitsune. And the brown kitsune, who's playing cards with the red kitsune and the undead knoll, says, "Remind me again why these meatheads can't guard the cavern," as he gestures to the zombie. "The city hangs on by a thread." And the red kitsune, who is shuffling through his deck, says, "It's simple. Raoul is here, so we are here. But why? Why is he here? Is it the will of the keepers that we give our lives tonight? Only Raoul knows. But do not forget, if not for the keepers, we would have no life to give, and we give it for the fate of Keldora. This is an honorable price to pay. Be glad you have been called for something greater." And the brown kitsune kind of slowly mixing his cards around, trying to arrange his deck, looking down and sort of nods to himself. "I am glad, brother. I am glad. Good. Now if only this oaf," and he smacks the undead on the back of the head, "could learn the rules before then, And he picks up the last card the undead played and waves it in front of his head. You cannot play this card yet, you fool. And the gnoll just goes, and grits his teeth as black ooze runs down his mouth. And they continue to bicker about the cards as your unseen servant trudges up. And you notice one more thing that kind of catches you off guard for a second. On the rock next to you jumps what looks like a little brown lizard, and it shifts its head side to side, jumps off the rock and scurries across the cavern, and then simply leaps off the ledge into the waterfall. But at the last moment before it hits the waterfall, its feet and tail turn into fins as it glows for a second, and it hits the water. And then you see the part of the waterfall it landed in, the water starts to distort itself and sort of shimmer as the fish swims its way up the waterfall elegantly.
Aw.
And then leaps out of the waterfall and turns back into the lizard and lands on the ledge, and then starts to scurry past the gray kitsune, who instantly notices it and simply stomps his foot down and crushes it.
Jeez.
And then kicks it off the ledge into the waterfall. And as you think that, you hear, "Oh my, Carlos!" And you look over, and sitting on a rock next to you was another brown lizard.
No!
The lizard can talk?
Yes, you realize that you just heard the lizard.
What? I didn't know that was an ability I had.
Well, he did turn into a fish when he went up the waterfall.
Oh.
Poor Carlos.
Interesting. I will turn to the lizard. Psst.
Huh? What the? He stirs on the rock. It like scurries around behind like another smaller rock for a second. Looks to the side at you. Are you talking to me?
You can hear me.
You can hear me?
I can. But you're a lizard.
I'll have you know, I am a fish. You fool. Can you not tell? And then he jumps into like a little puddle maybe that formed in the rock and briefly turns into a fish and then jumps out of the puddle back into a lizard and puffs out his chest. How dare you?
Fascinating.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I would like to get vengeance on my friend Carlos and kill that rackety foe over there.
Perhaps we could work together.
What do you mean, you fool?
This seems like a Cartoon Network character. like it reminds me of what's his name from Ed, Ed and Eddie, the farmer guy.
Jules,
And the boy.
as you're talking to this
And the boy.
lizard fish, does this make you want to halt your unseen servant who is getting dangerously close to those playing cards?
It does not.
Okay.
I'll just tell the lizard.
I'm so sorry about your loss. I will back you up. And if you go for that kitsune up there, I'll be right behind you.
Can you swim?
Yes, I can. Just wait for my signal, all right?
Wait for your signal. What do you mean? I'm going to swim up the waterfall. And then I'm going to take him on. And he's like kind of standing up and like punching in the air. And you realize he's like way too tiny to do anything.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Just wait. Just a moment. Any second now.
And then I'll turn and look back to my unseen servant.
I'm nervous for what you're going to do because I don't know what your plan is.
I can't wait.
Listen, friend. If I noticed Carlos, was it? Was able to swim up the waterfall.
Yes, it was Carlos, my beloved friend, who we must get vengeance for.
We will. Is there any way you could help me swim up the waterfall?
You? And he like puts his hands on his hips and looks up and down like you're just not impressive.
Yes, me.
I don't know. Can you swim as good as me?
I can swim very well. I don't know if I can swim as good as you, but I'm sure I can keep up.
You are fat and plump. Perhaps your size will be helpful if we get to the top of the waterfall to kill this foe. I suppose I could do this.
That one hurt a little bit.
All right. Very well. Well, wait for my signal, okay?
Your signal. We must make our way to the waterfall.
Hold on.
And he scurries off like over towards the waterfall, like just kind of without you across the floor.
Wait.
Nobody notices him, and then he's like kind of just hanging by the rock, and he's like, "Let's go."
I'll frustratingly look to my unseen servant,
Okay.
having fully expected them to, by now,
Yeah.
create some sort of distraction.
You see that your unseen servant was pacing back and forth, kind of like giving himself a pep talk. Just go over there and just introduce yourself. Try and play cards. I don't know. It'll be fine. Okay, here we go. I didn't know they could see me. Hey, can they see me?
Just go.
Oh, All right, here I go. And then he just walks up and he's kind of like looking around with his hands on his hips as they're bickering about cards, and he kind of just lazily kicks over one of their rifles. And then they just like look over. Oh, what the? And he just picks up his rifle and like leans it up again, and then he like goes back to playing cards, and then he just kicks over the rifle again. What in the world? And he picks it up, and then he just like firmly puts it in the stalagmite, and your unseen servant just swipes all their cards off the table, and it hits the other one in the chest. And then he goes, "Hey, what is your problem?" "What do you mean? I did not do this." "Oh, you are losing, so you thought, oh, I just end the game and then I do not have to pay." "What do you mean do not have to pay? We're about to die, fool. I would not care if I had to pay anything to you." "Yeah, right." And then he shoves him in the chest, and then he shoves him back, and then the massive undead kind of just stands up and is just staring at them, like not intervening at all. And they grab each other by the collar, and they start to bicker and argue with each other about this game very loudly.
In this moment, I take my ocarina out, and I think for the first time, I cast invisibility on myself.
All right.
It's a level 2 spell.
You play a tune, and maybe some shimmery mist starts to form around you, and then you look like water for a moment, and then disappear entirely.
Excellent. And then I run to the lizard fish,
Okay.
and I say, "Okay, let's go."
"Follow me!" And he jumps into the water, and his legs and tail turn back into fins, and he hits the waterfall, and it starts to emanate an aura around him that distorts the water and makes it still, as the edges around it are still free falling like a waterfall, but you see this little pocket of water, and you leap in as well with the sounds of bickering kitsune behind you, completely invisible, and start to swim through a waterfall. "Follow me!" And he goes upwards and then says, "Are you ready to jump? We must get our vengeance on this fool. For Carlos."
For Carlos.
Everybody, for Carlos!
This lizard's got its own little campaign going.
The saddest NPC death, Carlos. And the two of you leap out of the water, and then the lizard slides in front of the kitsune, and he stands up with his fist raised and like punches him in the shin, and then the kitsune raises his foot. What are you trying to do, Jules, now that you're up on this platform?
I grab the lizard and lift him up to face level.
Okay, hold on real quick. Roll me an athletics check for initiative.
What is this lizard's name?
I don't know if
I
you
never
asked
got this lizard's name.
Oh.
Okay, 25.
All right, you do get to go first. So what is it you want to do with your 3 actions?
I lift the lizard up, and I
what
point
are you
my
doing?
hand. I point
Wait,
my
where did you
hand
go?
just like
He realizes you're
past
invisible.
him,
Where did you go? What is happening?
and I shoot 2 magic missiles right in the face of this kitsune.
All right, roll it up, dude.
And because it is a heightened spell, I get to shoot an additional missile with each action I spend. So that's 4 magic missiles.
Dang.
That is 10 damage.
All right, so you fire magic missiles. It looks like it's emanating from the lizard that is floating in the air in front of this baffled kitsune that just has a confused look on his face, hasn't even raised his rifle as he's just wondering how this lizard is levitating. And then suddenly he is pelted by multiple magic missiles and stumbles back and hits the edge of the opening to this tunnel as he sort of spins around and then sticks his arm out to regain his balance. As it singes his clothes, and then suddenly, like a mirage of water, you sort of shimmer and reveal yourself as you're just holding this little lizard that's punching the air. "Oh, you must finish him, throw him into the pit, throw him." And that'll take us back to the kitsune, who is very confused and is just looking side to side and yells out, "You idiots, we have an intruder." And you look over your shoulder and then just see like the rifle still just being thrown around and like rocks kicked as the 2 kitsune are just yelling at each other and punching one another and fighting over this card game as the undead just sort of stares blankly at them. And you look down and see your unseen servant who salutes you. Godspeed, Jules. And he salutes and just disappears on his own, even though you're supposed to dismiss him. He just feels like his work is here is done. And the Kitsune, realizing it's up to him, is going to try and push you into this pit with the waterfall. So he's going to attempt to shove you. Does a 15 beat your fortitude DC?
It does not.
So he goes to shove you and slips on the wet rocks just from the water splashing up the waterfall and stumbles for a moment. But he does make contact with your chest, but you puff it out, feeling confident and very familiar with being on wet terrain, and holds your ground as he stumbles side to side. And then he's going to pull out his sword and then slash it at you with his last action. The multi-attack penalty. He goes to swing, and your little lizard friend jumps off of your arm and climbs up his sleeve and then bites him on the arm, and he goes, ah! And he swings his sword off to the side.
Yes.
Give him hell! And that'll take us back to you.
Okay, I would like to... is there an action to like maneuver around him, or is that just something
Yeah,
I
you
can
could just
do?
move.
Yeah, so I'll do that and get behind him.
Okay.
And then I would like to take out my trident and use that to shove him towards the edge. So I'm like stabbing him in the back, but I'm also trying to push him.
Cool. Roll me a shove action.
Uh-oh.
You also have a hero point if you want it.
I'm going to use my hero point.
Okay.
That's better. That's a 23.
Get
All
him.
right. As you see this little lizard crawling around in his clothes, you can see like his shirt puffing out with the little lizard as it moves around him, and the guy's trying to move around and grab him. You stupid! And then he turns around just in time to see you extend your trident and spin it, and then you just stab him really hard in the chest, and his arms flail side to side as he drops his sword and then slips on the rock and then disappears into the waterfall and falls. You see the water shimmer as a lizard turned back into a fish and makes his way up the waterfall, leaps out of it, and lands on your shoulder, turning back into a lizard.
We did it, friend. We did it. We got our vengeance. We're Carlos.
For Carlos. Listen, what's your name?
Diego, the Vanquisher.
Diego.
Vengeance
Hell
for
yeah.
Carlos.
Yes, Diego. Listen, I need you to stay here.
What? Why? We are just getting started. Screw these fools.
I can't put you in any more danger.
Danger. Danger is my middle name. You can call me Diego Danger. Danger Diego. That sounds better. Do that. Call me Danger Diego.
I take a peek to see if the other two Kitsune and the knoll down below have like noticed the ruckus up above.
They're still wrestling, but you feel like you gotta get out of here.
Okay, noticing that, Jules will kind of do that like hesitant rock back and forth, like,
All right, very well, but you have to be quiet.
Can they hear me?
I suppose that's true. I forgot. Okay, let's go.
and then I'll start running up the staircase.
What is your name, friend?
My name is Jules.
Jules and Danger Diego. Let's go.
And you run back down the tunnel, making your way to Caverna de Luz with a new companion, the feisty
Don't
Diego.
go making any new best friends now, Jules.
I was gonna say, look, now I don't need tough, so it's Jules and Diego fighting together.
that is so catchy,
Who needs
dang it.
Stickly's crew? Dun-dun-dun-dun.
I was gonna say he makes a better replacement for Dax. You just have a different lizard person.
Right?
Yes.
And he doesn't have stinky wings.
Exactly.
Right. Also,
Just
he's not a
stinky
lizard.
fins.
He's a fish.
Fair, okay, touche. How insensitive of me.
Yeah, do not
Right, is
call
this
him
like-
a lizard. He does not like that.
Did Jules just get like a familiar? Is that what this
God,
is?
I hope so.
No joke.
Animal companion.
All right. Is there anything else going on? Is anyone else doing anything?
Trying to remember.
I think
I
this
think
is
we should
about
just
it.
call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should probably
Let's
just
call it for the
Probably-
night.
I know
Probably
Joel
good.
would love
I don't
it
know.
if we
The
called
guys
it.
are just on a boat.
Oh, wait, I have here in
rowing.
my notes. Yeah, I actually have here in my notes that Tough is going to kill Dax. We should probably get to that. But first,
Oh,
I do
yeah, I
have
really
one-
wanted to do that,
Oh.
actually.
Yeah,
I
Oh,
forgot
yeah,
about
just
that.
Dax, though.
Oh, what I
Yeah.
put in parentheses and probably Waltz. He's just minding his
no.
own business in the same boat. But yeah, okay.
Collateral damage. It's fine.
But I do have one more
Waltz wasn't
thing.
contributing too much to the whole plot anyway,
Yeah,
right?
I don't even think anyone
Yeah.
liked his character, so we could probably
That
just
didn't
just
seem
kill
like it.
But no, I do have one more bullet point before that, actually. If you guys don't mind taking a quick trip with me down memory lane.
Okay.
And we find ourselves on the planet of Norvik, homeworld of the dwarves and gnomes. The planet is known for its sprawling red and gold tundras, misty gray skies, and snow-capped mountains. Although much of Norvik's happenings are hidden deep within dwarven mines, the surface is home to Garanar, the most prestigious university in all Keldora. Its proximity to the most abundant mineral deposits in the system, paired with the native gnome's rich academic history, has made it an ideal place for discovery and invention. It is here we find a young Tough assisting his father Dunadast in his efforts to create a mystery potion meant as a Creation Day gift for the young automaton.
Aww.
The two toil around in the lab as Tough does his best to contain his curiosity and patiently assist the prestigious professor. So, Ryan, you're going to play a young Tough here for a moment, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So your dad is trying to make a birthday present, although this would be called Creation Day present for you, and it's a mystery potion. You don't know what he's working on, and you're very, very curious as you're assisting him.
Dunadast, what are you putting in there now?
Well, this here,
And he holds up a little vial of silver liquid,
is silverthorn sap.
and he adds it to the beaker of many ingredients that are already in this cocktail of a potion.
No, not that one. This one.
Well, that's elderworm root, but we don't need that now. Tough. Please, could you hand me the phantom lilies over there on the shelf?
Yeah, 1 second.
And I put the whatever worm that you just said back where I found it.
How much we need?
Just grab the whole jar, please.
This whole thing?
Yes, it's ground into liquid form. We need to add it to the potion quickly.
Okay.
And then Tough, being much smaller at this time, trying to delicately handle this larger jar, pulls it off the table and sort of waddles over to Dunadast, holding it out in front of him.
And Tough, since this is a memory, I'm going to impose something on you. That did happen. It's a memory. It's lore, okay? You don't get a roll for this. But as you're walking, your tail catches some of the other ingredients on the table, and they start to slide, and you realize they're going to fall.
Whoops.
And you carelessly drop the phantom lilies that you were carrying and go to catch those, and then the phantom lilies hit the ground and smash in the liquid, spills over the wood floor.
Dunadast, I'm sorry.
And I'll try to scoop it up with my tail.
It's already seeped into the wood and very dry, and he just chuckles.
It's okay, Tough. It's all
Oh,
right.
no, it's ruined. My Creation Day present, it's ruined.
No, this is perfect, Tough. I could teach you something else now. This is actually quite useful, and trust me, I've dropped my share of ingredients. Without this simple workaround, I would have failed at many attempts of potion craft. It's okay.
Tough looks really confused by this.
So it's good that I dropped it?
Yes, now we can learn something together and spend more time together. It's okay.
And he wanders over to a toolbox and pulls out a crowbar and kneels down by the wood floor, and he pries up one of the panels that soaked up the most liquid and picks it up and says,
There's a method, you see. You can extract whatever liquid remains in a solid object by first diluting it, converting it to gas, and back to liquid. Here, I'll show you.
Oh yeah, changes of state, right?
Yes, very good, Tough.
and he brings you over to the other section of the table where he's got some other instruments set up, and he teaches you how to do this. And this is actually what Tough did when he found the broken shards of glass in the cell that Dunadast was found dead in, and was able to convert it into a gas and back into a liquid to figure out that it was Frithitator. And this
That's
is where
what a
you
college level degree gets you.
Yes.
Nice.
This is where you first learned it. And after some time working together, tinkering around, going through this process, he is able to extract all of the liquid phantom lilies that he needed and puts it back into a vial, ensures that it is pure, and then pours it back into the potion and stirs it for a time.
Wow, it still worked?
Well, let's find out.
And he stops stirring. You can tell that he has confidence that it worked, but he's just kind of being suspenseful with you.
Yeah, and Tough is just staring so intently at this with it as wide as his eyes could possibly be. Maybe with his head resting on his hands on the table.
Yes, and he takes this little beaker and he says,
Happy Creation Day, son.
and he hands it to you.
have a sip.
Right now?
Well, it is your creation day, is it not?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, what does it say when we drink our coffee? Bottoms up?
Yes, bottoms up.
And he gives you a wink.
And Tuff will just down this bottle of Creation Day juice or whatever it is.
As you drink this potion, you don't feel anything for a moment.
I don't think it worked, Dunadas.
Are you sure about that?
And as he says that, you realize you're looking at him eye level, like you guys are face to face, and then look down and realize you are floating in the air.
Whoa. I didn't know cats could fly.
Well, now they can with a little bit of a flying potion.
Well, I don't know how to control this.
And I'll be doing like somersaults in the air.
Seems like you're doing just fine.
I think I'm gonna be.
And I regurgitate some like coffee from inside.
Ew. Goodness, that was my best brew. That's okay. You're just acclimating. It's fine. Just calm down for a moment and, relax.
Okay, if you say so.
And I'll just take a deep breath in and sigh out and try to relax myself.
Good. Now, let's see what you can do.
And he gestures to the wide open lab with a bunch of high ceilings and a lot of space.
Yeah, Tuff will take this opportunity to just get to all the places he could never reach before, see things from a whole different point of view, maybe glide up around banisters and stuff like that, reach up towards top shelves, maybe comment on some of the dust that Dunadas left up there. Also just enjoy seeing things from Dunadas' point of view around the lab.
So this is what it looks like when you're looking down into a beaker, huh?
Yes, he's just sipping his coffee. He's just got a big old grin on his face. He looks very happy and satisfied. And you're doing loop-de-loops in the air and spin around and making all sorts of noise. And then the door just bursts open and you see Alderim Tinkergear, the headmaster of Garanar. He's a gnome and he has a long blue beard, but he's getting older, so the beard's starting to gray, so it's a little bit of silver mixed in with blue, and he's got a typical looking wizard's hat on, and he comes in with a cane, and he looks absolutely bewildered when he sees you flying around in the air, just a wild look in his eyes, and he says,
"Surely there are better uses for a flying potion than giving it to your automaton, Professor Dunadast."
And Dunadas had a sip of coffee up to his mouth and looks a little caught off guard and pulls his mug down and lowers it to the table.
"Oh, Headmaster Tinkergear, hello. We're merely celebrating Tuff's Creation Day."
And he smiles to you as he gestures to you in the air. Maybe you start to hover in place and calm down, wondering if you're in trouble or what you're supposed to be doing.
I'll like shoot down towards the ground and kind of hang my head and maybe cross my arms in front of me like I am in trouble.
Hi, Headmaster.
Creation Day? Why on Norvik would one celebrate such a thing? Shall we celebrate the day my robes were sewn as well?
If they were as special as Tuff, then perhaps. And Dunadast ruffles the little tuft of hair on your head.
Enough joking around, Dunadast. I must speak with you.
Of course, Headmaster. Would you like some coffee?
Sure.
And Alderim starts to make his way with his cane kind of into the center of the room. I'll make a fresh pot, please. Have a seat in my study and I'll be with you shortly.
Very well.
And he makes his way towards Dunadast's study, looking a little upset, sort of shaking his head at what he just saw. And Dunadast looks back to you with a big smile and says, Tuff, I'm sorry, I must entertain the headmaster. And he sort of rolls his eyes, looking a little annoyed, kind of like an inside joke between you and him that he doesn't want to do this.
No, I'm sorry, Dunadast. I didn't mean to get you in trouble.
No. No matter what I do, I'll get in trouble around here. It's okay. But it's your creation day, son. Have fun. And he wanders over and opens up the window to outside. Go on, fly the grounds. You don't want to sit here and listen to us talk bureaucracy.
I'll like make my way towards the window, but before I do, just maybe like do one last look back at him, like, are you sure?
He nods to you with a big smile on his face.
Woohoo! And then I'll just like leap out the window and just do some exploring.
Awesome. Tuff, you just start to fly the grounds of Garanar, just observing this massive, intricate castle in the deep tundra of Norvik. You fly the grounds, observing this beautiful gold and red plants that adorn this frigid, icy tundra. Looks like dead grass just bringing in all sorts of golds and yellows and reds from the various plants that fill the landscape. You see the beautiful castle, the sprawling hills, and the snowy mountains on this misty horizon off in the distance. You're just having the time of your life as you soar over fields with mammoths prowling the landscape, just seeing people outside building various inventions, students adorning the grounds, and you're just soaring freely as they turn their heads, seeing you whiz by, wondering what it is they just saw. And after you've had some fun, some curiosity builds within you, wondering why the headmaster wanted to speak with Dunadas and why he seemed so serious. And being the curious automaton that you are, you start to hover back towards Dunadas' study, high in the castle as you hover above the grounds, and find an open window in the study where he said he was meeting with the headmaster, and hover in place and try and listen in as you peek barely over the lip of this window.
Dunadas always said curiosity killed the cat, but he didn't say anything about automatons.
It's awesome. You see Dunadas setting down a pot of coffee on the table as he pours up 2 mugs, and they're each sitting in chairs across from a round wooden table, looking at each other. A little fire burning in the study. It smells like a crisp autumn day with a little bit of frigidness in the air. It's kind of every day here on Norvik. And Alderum, taking a sip of the coffee, sets it down.
You know, Dunadas, I can tell you're quite proud of your little creation out there, but we have more refined automatons better suited for lab work.
And Dunadas sort of squirms in his chair, does a slightly offended-looking smirk with his head tilted.
Tough suits me well, Headmaster. Well, you should at least give his programming another pass. The bugs are evident. We all have bugs, Headmaster. It's what makes us unique.
And he does a friendly smile. You can tell he's doing his best to put on a professional face right now.
Funny. You sound more like a professor of arts than Magitech. Is magic not art? I'm not here to debate the components of magic with you, Professor. Especially since you can be more stubborn than the Underking himself. No offense. None taken. I quite like Ophir. Right. Anyways, on to business. The board has rejected your expedition request.
And Dunadas sort of sits upright and squirms in his chair a little bit. You can tell he wasn't expecting this, and his demeanor completely changes.
And why did the board reject my request? The Arcanor is a fantasy, Dunadas. The math simply doesn't work. You've said so yourself. That is precisely why I need to study the ley lines, Alderum. They themselves are likely the key to infinite recursion. How else would they sustain themselves? They come and go, Dunadas. They're a phenomenon. The artistry of magic, you might say, sort of mocking him. This is true, but while present, their potency appears 100% stable. Let me prove it, please. We have your thesis, Dunadas. We will study it. Regardless, you are not the right person for this project.
And his eyes sort of shift downward.
Why not? I've seen your programming as of late. Tough is shoddy work at best. You know what could happen if you apply the same precision to the Arcanor.
Dunadas looks up, kind of chuckles to himself under his breath, and sets his coffee down and sits up very upright, looking very serious.
I assure you, if you're using tough as a measure of my programming, then it is impeccable. Perhaps it is your judgment that is failing you, Headmaster. Careful, Professor. Your occasional flash of brilliance does not excuse insubordination.
And Dunadas, maybe realizing he's overstepped his bounds a bit, does a deep exhale.
Apologies, Headmaster. If you read my thesis, surely you know the Arcanor's potential. It could revolutionize Caldora. The benefits are staggering. Please allow me to... No, Dunadas. I'm sorry. This is not a negotiation.
And Dunadas sort of falls back into his chair in frustration.
Gather your research on the subject and turn it into the board. This is no longer your project. Going forward, you will be assisting Brixdorf on his study of phantom alignment theory.
Dunadas is just staring blankly at the floor and nodding subtly.
Yes, Headmaster.
Good. And the little gnome hops out of his chair and gathers his cane, starts walking out, but looks back at Dunadas.
Your ambition has served you well thus far, Professor, but ambition is best paired with reason. Part of being a great inventor is knowing when to call it quits.
And Dunadas kind of looks away from him, kind of chuckles to himself.
Of course.
and Alderim leaves. And then Dunadas slowly looks up at a chalkboard in his study with a inverted cone-shaped object with a corkscrew design going up it. This is indeed the Arcanor with many equations written underneath it, and just lets out a long sigh. And Tough sort of fly off for a while, making sure that Dunadas doesn't know you overheard the conversation. You could tell he's deeply bothered, and eventually you come back to the lab and spend the rest of your creation day with him. And for the remainder of the day, Dunadas does his best to hide his disappointment. If you hadn't seen so yourself, you wouldn't have detected it in him at all. He's doing his best to just be a great dad and ensure you have a great day. However, in the days that follow, you could tell he was very, very troubled, and so much so that he asked to speak with you in the lab.
Tough. I need to talk to you for a moment.
What is it, Dunadas?
My son, I'm afraid I must leave you, for a time.
You what?
I have to go. I wish there was another way, but something in my bones tells me this Arcanor must be finished, and I cannot complete my work here at Garanar, for its answers to its mysteries lie elsewhere.
Well, okay, that's fine. I'll go with you.
He smiles, and you kind of see some tears forming in his eyes, and he kind of takes a moment to compose himself, trying to look strong and composed.
My dear boy, Caldora, it's a beautiful but dangerous place, and sadly it is not the kindest to automatons. It is for your own safety that you remain here until I return, and I promise, so long as there is breath in my lungs, I will do all I can to return to you.
You won't have to return. I can handle it. I'm tough. It's in my name. I can handle it. I promise.
Yes, I know this, son. I know this.
And he puts his hand on your shoulder.
I am proud of you, but I leave only in hopes of building a better world for you. I wish I could stay here. I wish you could come with me, but fate often calls us to give up what we want for what is right. But believe me, you are destined for great things, and I cannot wait to see what they are.
No, Dunadas, please don't go. I don't fit in here. I'll be so alone without you.
He looks up with a twinkle in his eye, says,
I will do all I can to return to you, Tough, but trust me.
And he places his finger on your core and taps it.
You are not alone.
And with that, we cut to an older Tough, not crying, but instead staring down the sights of a gun aimed at a bag of bombs in a boat on his way to the castle of Starsea with a very confused Dax and Waltz. So Tough, you're sort of in charge of this situation. You basically just implied that Dax killed Dunadas. Waltz, you are looking on. So what do you do, Tough? Actually, first, can everyone roll me an athletics check and text me what you got, just in case anything happens?
Oh boy.
Okay, Tough, this is your show, my man. What's going on?
I believe the last thing I said to Waltz was that there was somebody under our noses who was working with Gothram, Blue Kobold guy, Raoul
Zig.
in the past. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zig. And had also killed Dunadas. So I think Tough isn't going to say anything after that. He's just going to look at Dax and just like stare at him and see if he does anything.
So, Tough, are you saying that you think Dax here is working with Gothram? And you think Dax killed Dunadas?
Dax will look back over his shoulder to Waltz and just kind of put his hand behind him. Waltz, I got this. And you see a defeated look fall over Dax as he realizes that everything he's been avoiding is kind of coming to a head now in such a dire, risky situation. He'll just look really sad, honestly, because Dax has been stewing over this for months. This happened before the break after we beat Sindor. So, this has been months and months of it rolling around in Dax's head. He's figured that something like this was bound to happen eventually. It never felt like a great time to bring it up to Tough. There's no easy way to tell somebody that, you're responsible for that. So there's just a lot going on in his brain. And yeah, so you don't see anger on his face. You don't see hatred or anything. You just see kind of a deep sadness. And he'll say, Tough, I'm sorry.
Cut the crappy sorries. You're at a real loss for words for someone who's got a lot of explaining to do.
Did you trust Dunadas?
Come again?
Well, I did, Tough, and after Sindor, and Dax will get kind of choked up a bit. After Sindor captured him and stuffed him in that cell, that's when I saw him. He explained to me, as best he could. I'm no scientist, but Dunadas, he told me about the Arcanor and that he built it, that he was responsible for it, but Sindor had plans to use it as some sort of weapon. I'm not sure exactly how, and Dunadas was certain that Sindor was going to get the information he needed out of him. I don't know, man. I wish it didn't have to be like this either.
Wait, so Dex, this is true.
After a long pause, Dax will say, I'm afraid it is, Waltz.
Tough will take a very deep breath through his nostrils, just hearing it confirmed out loud, and maybe almost well up a little bit, but just look so angry with his brow furrowed. And Tough will just think that Geldir was a little more reliable than the party had let on, having provided him with inklings of this information earlier, implications that it could have been Dax that killed Dunadas.
So, your solution to that was to have Dunadas be dead, and you called him a friend?
Tough, that wasn't my solution. I tried to set him free. Tough, that was his solution.
Bullcrap!
And I'll point my gun straight at Dax now. And the gun will kind of shake there in his hand as he's just looking like he's holding back tears, but so angry.
He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't say that. He promised he'd come back.
Waltz, as you're sitting in this boat, can you roll me a religion check?
Yes. 27.
Dang. As Tough is standing over Dax, aiming his pistol at him, I imagine a lot is going through your mind. You never would have expected that Dax would be in your party and have killed Dunadas, but not tell you. And you're also hearing that apparently it needed to be done, and maybe even that Dunadas asked for it. At this point, Waltz doesn't know what Frithator is or that was used, and obviously that poison means that whoever took it was willing. So you may even think that Dax, there's an opportunity for him to forcefully give this poison to him and actually assassinate him and be lying about all this. This is all going on. But you're also remembering that you were burdened by this vision of the planet being destroyed and knowing that you guys need to carry out this mission and something is not as it seems. And you're starting to get clarity that maybe whatever it is that is not as it seems is that Dax was a murderer or working against you or cannot be trusted. So you're taking this situation very seriously. But also, at the same time, as you think about how the fate of the planet is in your hands and this vision is just flickering endlessly of destroyed, alive, destroyed, alive, destroyed, alive, destroyed, alive, you're remembering that you also have the Flora de Vida in this boat with you, and there is a bag of bombs, and you have a very critical mission ahead. And you're very torn because obviously if Dunadas needed to be killed, the hero and you would probably never do that. Waltz probably never would have done that, would have found another way. So even if that's true, you wonder about Dax. You also wonder that Tough is about to maybe blow up this boat with the Flora de Vida in him and kill all of you and destroy this planet in the process. So you realize that this has been revealed to you, and you need to make a decision. Something needs to be resolved here because a very important mission is at stake, and you feel burdened to help make the right call. So as you see these two people facing off, each with their own agendas and their own livelihood in their minds, that you are the objective observer and almost feel like you need to judge this situation in a way. And it's too costly to get wrong, and you don't know which one is right yet.
Okay. Waltz will slowly stand up and start approaching Tough with his hands just kind of shown. Like he's not going to do
move,
anything.
Waltz.
Tough, buddy. Listen.
Hey, buddy. The big boys are talking right now. Where'd your crayons go?
The two littlest in the party. I love it.
Tough, you're a smart guy. I know that if anybody is going to look at this from a educated and well-informed perspective, it's you. So, before you make any decision that drastically changes the entire outcome of this whole entire world, let Dax talk.
That's what I was just doing until you brought your big butt up. Now why don't you sit back down?
Dax, you must have had some reason you did all this. Go ahead, tell us.
Dax will look down at his torn sleeve and just start messing with it a little bit. He'll look up and meet Tuff's gaze and say, do you know what Frithador is?
I sure as hell do. Found it in that vial next to Dunadast's body.
Yeah.
I also know that somebody has to be willing to take Frithador. But I also noticed something else mixed into it. I can only assume you tampered with it in some way, so Dunadast was forced to take it, even if unwilling.
Tampered with? I mean, that was originally meant for me. The only reason I had it is so I wouldn't get caught underground back on Drakus. From before, I guess I don't have a way of proving that to you, but...
Convenient.
And how do you know it was tampered with, Tough?
Well, like you said, Waltz, he's a smart guy. And I know you have no reason to believe me, but I wanted it to go any other way. Dunadast was an invaluable part of all of us. And he'll look back to Waltz, rising up and taking down Sindor. If it wasn't for him, we couldn't have saved any of those people. It seemed like that was the legacy he was wanting to leave behind. He was always wiser than I could have ever hoped to have been. He was a good man. I'm sorry.
Tuff will take another hard sniff in through his nose and then look down like he's thinking about what Dax had said. Then Tuff will look back up at Dax.
How dare you speak so highly of him after doing what you did? And how dare you try to justify your actions?
And Tuff will tense up even more as he grips his gun more firmly, pointing it at Dax.
But fortunately for you, that's not why I'm holding you hostage right now. You see, Waltz, I am a smart guy. And even now, I still know to put the mission over vengeance. I'm not saying we're done here, Dax, but you've got some more explaining to do. We have to make sure the Flora de Vida gets to the Caverna de Luz. Otherwise, this whole city's getting crashed into another city, which is attached to a planet that's going to get destroyed. And I need to make sure you don't get in the way with that. Now, I know you've worked with Gothram. I know you worked with Zig. I know you worked with Raoul. I'm trying to wrap my head around this coincidental scenario where you're all in the same place again, and you're not going to interfere with our mission.
Well, it says he just points out that very suspicious fact. You get a very just firm flash of the destroyed planet and just a sinking feeling in your stomach, trying to make sense of who's being honest here.
Tough, I'm realizing how bad I must look to you, and like I said, I get it, but I know from where you're at, I've aligned myself with some pretty shady people in my past. And you don't have any reason to believe me, but I assure you I didn't realize how bad any of these people were until it was much, much too late. I needed to get off of Drakus. I couldn't do it anymore. I constantly on the run, nowhere to call home, nobody to call a friend. Surely you can understand that at least.
Tuff doesn't even respond. He's just staring intensely at Dax.
I collected an ingot of metal in exchange for a chance at a new life. I was promised a ticket off Drakus, and hindsight being 2020, I should have seen that they'd screw me over like they did. They left me for dead. They didn't hold up their end of the bargain. I only got out of Drakus because of whatever this Keeper stuff is. I still don't really know what all that's about, but they tried to kill me before I even left Drakus, and they kidnapped my friend Meeg and left him to die on some other planet. I share no more allegiance with those people than any one of the enemies we've met along the way. I'd have killed Zig back when we saw those undead if we weren't completely outgunned. I don't know. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, Tough. In an effort to not make it any more painful, I've obviously done quite the opposite.
I don't think Tuff has enough information right now to definitively say either way, There's a lot of things down the line, obviously, that has made him suspicious of Dax, but also stuff that has happened down the line where Dax has shown that he is on our side. Whether he's faking it or not, I don't know, but there's plenty of situations where he could have hindered the group or killed people or done something and just hasn't. It does seem like he could be legit, or he's just the world's best spy. Maybe. And in the situation we're in right now, I don't know if Tough has much of an option other than to trust Dax for the sake of this mission. And he's just going to hope that the threat he's made now is enough to at least scare Dax straight if he is against us from interfering with us. And if he's not, then, the threat wouldn't have been necessary anyway. So Tough will just say,
"This isn't over, Dax, but we've got to do. Help us get the Flora de Vida to Caverna de Luz, and try not to it up along the way."
Dax understands. I mean, where Tough is coming from. This, honestly, he was half expecting to get shot. So he'll just drop his shoulders a bit and sit down and either keep rowing or doing whatever he was doing before this happened.
"By the way, quick change of plans."
And Tough will start emptying the bombs out of this sack back into his many-shafted gun and throw it over his back.
"I guess I wasn't totally honest either."
And he'll start taking the sash off of his chest, revealing that there is no Flora de Vida in his core.
"Wait, what have you done?"
Wait, aren't you gonna die without that?
"Well, you see, the whole point of a good boom and zoom is for a real big distraction, and somebody good enough to zoom whatever we need to get going where it needs to go. And, well, I thought Jules was actually in the best scenario to do that, and seeing as how I didn't know if I could trust either of you, well, I had to do it a little bit more in a clandestine style, Tough's way. So I don't have the Flora de Vida right now, and yeah, I could die at any second, but I think I've got a way that I can attract a lot of attention right here, and I'm gonna need you two to defend me as long as you can so that they don't realize I don't have the Flora de Vida. And Jules can make his way to Caverna de Luz as quickly as possible without so much attention on him."
Wait, here?
Tough will do like a big back stretch and say, "Yep, right here, right now."
"I think I got a way to do this. At least I felt like I had a way of doing this."
And Tough is going to kind of squirm a little bit, but get a sense of the remaining Flora de Vida energy that's inside of him. And though he wouldn't be aware that Renard would do this, he just sort of has this instinctual feeling after being fused with the Flora de Vida that he has a means of releasing its energy so that anybody that might be aware of its presence would have their attention diverted towards our location. And I would like to try and release that energy.
Can you roll me an Arcana check with a +4 circumstance bonus?
Okay. 35.
Dang.
Jeepers!
Tough. You lower your head and remember what Renard said about trying to channel the Flora de Vida. You obviously only have residual energy left in you, just a little bit, not the whole Flora de Vida anymore. But you remember how he said to think of a place that makes you happy, and this time you think of Dunadas and that time you were flying around in his lab on your creation day, when life was a lot simpler and before he was called away from you, the last time you'd ever see him. And you rest in this moment, you feel calm, you remember the sort of thing that you're fighting for, and you remember how he told you that sometimes fate calls you to give up what you want for what is right, and you take solace knowing that what you're doing is right. And you channel this energy, it stirs around you, all of you see Tough start to glow with that blue Flora de Vida energy, his eyes glowing, the gaps in his plates of his automaton body emitting light, as well as a surge of magical energy bursts from him, and you see the waves around you ripple like a stone thrown into a pond as this brilliant surge of light glows in this fog around you. And as the waters start to calm, almost wondering what it is that he just did, you hear the ominous sound of the Murthane roar, and its heavy wings wrapping flapping towards you, and a commotion in the city behind you as all of Ciudad de la Nubes thinks the Flora de Vida is in this boat with you. And that is where we'll end our session with you guys being totally screwed. But it's alright, Jules is fine. He's got Danger Diego with him. And you guys are in a boat, so you're good. You can just use a boat. It's all good.
All according to the plan.
Yeah,
Zach.
What, Taryn?
Do I still
Oh, wait, hold on,
have
Taryn,
the-
shut up. Taryn, shut up. Yeah, sorry. You can talk about that in downtime, which is for patrons. You can ask me about this. It's a saddle. You're about to ask me about the saddle, weren't you?
Do I still have that saddle?
You sure did. Unless you
been
threw it
wearing it the
overboard.
whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah. You were the whole time you were standing there concerned as they were arguing, maybe about to kill each other. You just had a saddle on your back, so don't worry about it.
I'm gonna tame the Merc vein.
Okay, but shut up. But shut up.
Ooh,
But shut up.
do that.
Oh, okay. Good luck. Practice your rolls, buddy. I think you're gonna have a very high one for that. All right, yeah. So we'll talk about the downtime, which is for patrons, or react to the most recent episode. You know what? This time, first of all, update from the last episode. We were talking about Declan and Liam, where they wanted a shirt and we didn't have any kid-sized shirts. But Joel is just a great guy, and Joel did some digging and he found a local shop that could make a kid-sized shirt. We're gonna give him the decals or whatever that Adam designed and try and print him a custom shirt. We're gonna send him one because we just felt really bad about it. We haven't even released the episode where we said that we weren't able to get them one, but Joel was just such a great guy. Did that. I don't think we could do that normally because that's a lot of extra work. But Liam and Declan, man, they just really wanted some shirts and we really want to get it to them. So you guys rock, Liam and
They
Declan. I
earned
hope
it.
you enjoy the shirts. Maybe you have them by now. I don't know. Who knows when this will be done, but also this time, and a shout out, I want to shout out our Discord. Our Discord is popping lately. People just coming in, getting apples offered to them, hanging out, offering a lot of just contributing to, accept the apples, contributing a lot. The Discord is awesome. I love you guys. The community is so cool. Thank you for hanging out with us. And I want to specifically shout out a member of our Discord named Gorolo. I think that's how you'd say that.
Gorolo.
He is doing a re-listen right now, and during the re-listen, he is making at least one meme to commemorate each episode, and I have been enjoying this thoroughly
the
because
I'm
yeah,
legit looking forward to the memes.
Yeah,
So good.
it's so fun. His template selection is perfect, and then like the meme itself is really good. Like I'm always just super impressed by him, and it's also like reminding me things about the episode I forgot, and it's just been like a very fun way to remember them. They're super funny. Like he did one for season 1, episode 7. It's that Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Django Unchained where he's like smirking all confidently with the wine glass, like looking overconfident. And it says, Geldir, after punching Waltz in the nose twice, getting an ale, and being untied in exchange for absolutely nothing. Like, he's just like, whoa. That's true. He was really on a roll there, but yeah. I love playing Geldir. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the memes. Keep them coming, man. And then join the Discord if you want to see them. There's so many awesome things that go in the Discord. You're missing out on a lot if you're not in the Discord. I think I have the invite link in the show notes. So yeah, or you can find it on our Reddit. I think on our Instagram as well. So yeah, please join that. We'd love to hear from you, interact with you, and we really appreciate it. And we will see you next time, mortals. Yes, bottoms up. And he gives you a wink.
And Tuffle just down this bottle of Creation Day juice or whatever it is.
Poisoned you idiot. You piece of shit.
It's like our metacast, which is like it's extremely visceral, like choking scene of Baby Tuff.
Why'd you do this? I love you.
Hate you.
Jeez.